هوای غبار آلوده استدیو.
Greetings one and all. Super Tuesdays here from the Holy Land, the holy city of Elon Moreh Shechem. You might recognize this synagogue, still close to our study hall. This is, maybe we could call this an emergency broadcast. Hope there are no sirens that will go off during this class. God willing, we are on the 21st day of the month of Sivan 5785. We remind ourselves that the lessons here, the Torah that we learned, is for the sake of heaven, for the sake of removing the divine presence from the exile, to improve ourselves one small step, which in our times is one extremely big step. So this emergency broadcast is going to be on the fall of Iran and the Messianic ramifications from this, the redemption results from this, God willing. Okay, so let's give it all we got, give it our best shot. Let's take it from the top. After thousands of years, by the way, Iran happens to be the oldest country in the world, according to archaeologists. And after thousands of years, the Persian Empire, in the year 1935, so we're talking about exactly 90 years ago, they changed the name of the empire, the Persian Empire, to the present name, Iran. So this class will be talking about Persia / equals Iran. So as always, we will take it from the top. In the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 7, Abraham makes a covenant with God. It's called in Hebrew, Brit Ben Abtarim. In English, they translate it as covenants between the parts. Abraham, during this meeting, so to speak, with God, and a prophetic vision that he has, all of a sudden, he goes into a deep sleep, and he has the following emotions that the Torah tells us about. He had emotions of fear, feeling of darkness, awesomeness, and a fall. So the amazing commentator on the Torah, Yonatan ben Uziel. Yonatan ben Uziel was one of the 80 students of Hillel the Elder, and he was the prize student, the best of them all. And he writes the following. He connects, just like our sages connect this verse to 4 different exiles, 4 expressions of emotions are translated into 4 nations. So here's how Yonatan ben Uziel plays it out. Fear, that is connected to Babylonia. Awesome is Madai. Darkness is Greece. Falls is Persia. That is amazing. We would expect to see Edom, which is Esav, which is the Western world, which is Christianity. All of a sudden here, the last mentioned nation is Persia. Yonatan ben Uziel continues. When they fall, when Persia / Iran falls, they will have no return to power. From that point, Israel will rise and we will merit to see the coming of Mashiach. That is an amazing. Iran's fall equals the rise of the Jewish nation, of the coming of Messiah. You can't make that up. That is amazing, prophetic. However, don't get too excited yet. Comes Rabbi Yakov Kamineski, one of the great giants, Torah giants in America. And in his book, A Commentary on the Torah, Titen Emet Yakov, on page 103 in Genesis, he says that we find there must be a censorship on this verse. The Jewish people were afraid to write that the last kingdom, which would fall and never rise again, would be Edom, Esav / West Christianity. That would be too touchy. That would be dangerous for the Jewish people to print that. So instead, they put in Persia, but they really meant Edom. So he kind of, Rabbi Kamineski comes along and kinds of dampens our excitement. However, don't get depressed at all. Comes the book by Rav Yaakov Yisrael Chadad, his book called Hachidushim, on page 57 in Leviticus. He explains in detail how there is no contradiction. We have sources that say the last country to fall is Edom, and we have sources that say the last country to fall before the new era of redemption arrives will be Persia. And he goes into detail that's not beyond our scope right now, but that's the complete picture. So we have Rabbi Kamineski and we have Rabbi Chadad. Folks, this is really amazing. The fall of Persia, fall of Iran. In the past 20 months, we have seen, with God's help, amazing miracles. It's even hard for me to express what has happened. To look at if you remember 30 years ago, during the Oslo Accords, the Prime Minister then, Mr. Peres, was talking about a new Middle East. He wasn't joking, he was just 30 years early and totally different direction. We've seen in the last 20 months, Iran and all of its proxies, we have seen them, with God's help, decimated. You have in the south of Israel, we have Hamas, Gaza. In Lebanon, we have the Hezbollah, another proxy. We have in Yemen, we have the Houthim. In Syria, from the year 2000 until this past year, Iran was the number one backer of Assad and his regime. That was their route to bring supplies, ammunitions to Lebanon. That was their route. They lost that route when Assad fell and his regime. And now, tremendous miracles of God, the fall of Iran. Amazing. In all, 20 months. 20 months. Nothing. You can't make that stuff up. So we have Yonatan ben Uziel telling us when you see the fall of the Persian Empire, Iran, you will see the rise, God willing, of the Jewish people and the coming redemption, moving right along. In this week's portion, they say timing is everything. There's an amazing Zohar on page 167a. There is a three-way conversation between the head of the Talmudic Academy and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, famous on Lag BaOmer holiday, and the Messiah, Mashiach. And here's how the conversation rolls. The head of the Talmudic Academy asks Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, how was Daniel the prophet able to understand the handwriting on the wall? If you were ever interested in investigating, where do we have that expression? The handwriting was on the wall. You have it right here. It's a Torah expression. So that is the question that is asked to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. How is Daniel able to put this cryptic handwritten message on the wall and explain it to the king, to the last king of Babylonia? His name was Belshazzar, and he ruled approximately in the year 380 BCE. So we're talking about 2,400 years ago. The message that Daniel gave to the king of Babylonia, that he would fall soon, and when he fell, up would come two nations and take his kingdom away from Babylonia. One would be Madai, and the other would be Persia. This could be found in the book of Daniel, chapter 5, verse 29. The words, amazingly, that Daniel understood the message was, it's written 3 times in that verse, the word to divide and to break, which is Persia in Hebrew is to split and to break. So that's how Daniel understood that the kingdom of Babylonia would be broken and would be divided between Persia and Madai. But the Zohar continues. And the next question was, is there a message, that handwriting on the wall, the prophetic message of Daniel, was this a message just for that time, or was it for all generations? And of course, as we know, it's for all generations. So what is the lesson for the end of days? Listen to this. The Messiah from Yosef, the Mashiach ben Yosef, will defeat the West, Edom, Esav, Christianity. But, as they say, that's all, folks? No, it's not all, folks. Then, the Zohar continues, the Persian Empire, Iran, will rule over Israel. Even though Israel defeated the West, Persia will rule over the Jewish people for 12 months. Like, whoa, that ain't cool. What a bummer. You're getting all excited that we had this tremendous victory over the forces of Edom, Esav. But all of a sudden, we'll have to be subjugated for 12 months. Comes the famous Hasidic Rebbe. He was a Rebbe for 66 years. It's almost unheard of. 66 years the son of the Shomer Emunim. The Shomer Emunim was Rabbi Aaron Rata of blessed memory, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. His son, one of his sons, was Rabbi Avram Chaim Rata. He lived from 1924 to 2012. And in one of his works called Kol HaChatzer, third volume, page 238, he hits the ball out of the park, and as you always like to say, Tomer Devora, that ball is still traveling. He says the following: what in the world happened with the Persian Empire? After thousands of years of existence, 90 years ago, in his day, in Rabbi Rata's day, it was less. They decide to change their name. What in the world is happening? You've made it so far, you've been successful. Why are you changing your name? This is an amazing. This was a clear sign from God that, let's take it one step back. The Shomer Emunim rabbi said he was terrified when he saw these words of the Zohar, that we would be subjugated by Persia for 12 months, for 1 year. He was really shooken up by it. And all of a sudden, this idea, this light came to him. Amazing. The idea is that God orchestrated a change in their name. We have a foundation in Judaism. When you change a name, when you change your place, you change your entire mazal, fortune. So it's true that there was this decree of being subjugated by Persia after Israel defeats the West, the world of Christianity. However, that's Persia. Today, this is Iran. They changed their name. Once you change the name, all bets are off, baby. Whoa! So that is amazing. So in the words of Rabbi Rata, what it says in the Zohar was annulled, was canceled out. And that is why God orchestrated, gave them this idea, change your name. We know when a person is ill, God forbid, deathly ill, they change his name. Well, he changed his name. Oh, it's a big deal to change your name. It changes your whole fortune. So that is an amazing idea. Next. I'm sorry, I do not remember the contemporary rabbi that I heard this first idea. So, but my hat, if I had one, is off to him. This is an amazing idea that he picked up on in the portion of the week that we read hours after the attack by Israel in Iran, close to 5 days ago. We read there in Numbers chapter 10, verse 9, when you go to war in your land against your enemies who oppress you, you shall sound short blasts of trumpets. Notice that there are two expressions of a enemy. One is enemy, and the other one is oppressor. In Hebrew, those words are the following: enemy and oppressor, tsar, Hatzorer. This language, this contemporary rabbi, who unfortunately I cannot remember his name, says the following amazing idea. This language is exactly the same words used in the story of Esther and Purim when a decree by the Persians, Haman, decreeing that the Persian Empire would annihilate the Jewish people come the 13th day of the month of Adar. Does this sound familiar? We've heard for the last 20-some years the threat of annihilation by the Iranian regime. So it says in the book of Esther, 2 verses that use the same exact expression used in the portion that we read hours after the attack on Iran. That could be found in Esther chapter 7 verse 6 or Esther chapter 8 verse 1. Haman was called Ish Tsar, an enemy, Vitzorer, and an oppressor. So that is an amazing connection. We know that everything that happens during the week, we can find, if we look close enough, if we study hard enough, if we sweat it out, we will find those events in the portion of the week. Okay, now, when I heard this idea, it immediately clicked to me the following class that we had 3 months ago on Purim. Look it up, check it out. We quoted there. Our question on Purim was, why in the world, every year, do we have a fast day on the 13th day of the Jewish month of Adar, and we call it the fast of Esther, but I hate to lay this one on you, but the fast of Esther was a month later, on the 13th, 14th, 15th, or 14th, 15th, 16th. There's a dispute on exactly which day that started, but it was in a different month. So what in the world are we doing? You want to have a fast of Esther? Okay. To save the Jewish people, beautiful. Do it a month later. And we brought in Rabbi Chaim Falaji in his amazing book, Moed L'Kol Chai, chapter 31, paragraph 94. He says an amazing concept. We spoke about it at length 3 months ago. The decree to annihilate the Jewish people by the Persians was never annulled. It continues throughout the generations, and on every 13th of the month of Adar, the Jewish people, so to speak, are thrown into a heavenly court to be judged. What will our judgment be this year? Annihilation or survival? Every single year, that decree was never annulled. This is an amazing concept. Who are we dealing with here? We're dealing with Persians. For the former Persian Empire, the Iranians, and their decree to wipe the Jewish people, wipe Israel off the map with all of its millions of Jews. You can't make any of this stuff up. That decree still exists, and God was reminding us when we went to synagogue this past Shabbat, Sabbath, and we read those verses when a war is declared by your enemies, by your oppressors. Who are we talking about? We're living, it's real time, baby, real time. These are not, they are ancient texts, but it's real-time text. Take that one to the bank. Next, seeing the redemption, God willing, folding, happening in front of our own eyes. Next, the Talmud, tractate Avodah Zarah, page 2, side B, tells about the end of days. The nations of the world will be judged by God. What was their relationship? Did they assist? Did they bless the Jewish people? Or did they oppress the Jewish people? So the first country, understandable, the first nation that's brought into court, the heavenly courts, is of course Edom, Esav, the Western world, Christianity, the last exile. Because they're still around. And there's a discussion. We'll leave it for another time. And then, amazingly, who's brought in second? This is not going to be, remember who's on first or what's on second. We're not going to do that. Was that Abbott and Costello? That's before my time. Okay. So, they bring in the Persian Empire. And immediately the Talmud asks, what's going on over here? I can understand why they brought in the Fourth Exile, because we just finished it. This is the end of days. This judgment will take place. Heavenly court, got it. But the Persian Empire, that was a story, okay, with the Persian Empire, that was a story of yesteryear. That was thousands of years ago. Why are they brought in? And the Talmud says amazingly that these two kingdoms, these two nations, will make it the survivors till the end of times. Two nations will make it to the end of time. Edom, the West, Christianity, and Persia, Iran. Whoa. Next comes the Maharal, and in his book, Netzach Yisrael, chapter 21, this could also be found in the Talmud, in Tosfot Reed, on the tractate of Avodah Zarah, the same page, page 2, side B. The Maharal and the Tosfot ask, what's going on? Persian government is long gone. Once again, when we're talking about the kingdom, we're talking about clout, power, prestige. The Maharal says an amazing line. Right. The Persian Empire has its light has been decreased. Its prowess, its respect, its honor. However, when the Torah is talking about Persia, Persia is Ishmael, the fourth exile that we are now in, the exile of Islam, the fourth exile. Persia is Ishmael. Whoa. So the same concept of, okay, we understand why Edom was brought, the West was brought to the heavenly court in the end of days. That we got, because we just escaped their exile. So they should be the first ones judged. But the same token, we have the Persian / Ishmael / Islam exile that we are coming off of. Folks, that is amazing. We see before our very own eyes, we see the fall of the Persian Empire, Iran, the Muslims, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthim, Iran, Syria, before our very eyes decimated. We see them. This is amazing. In the end of days, whoa, our question should be, after this passage of the Talmud in Avodah Zarah, who will be the last one standing? What we call TKO. In Tractate Yoma, page 10, side B, there's a dispute between our sages. Some say Edom, the West, will be the last ones to fall. Some say Persia, Iran, Islam will be the last ones to fall. They both will last. The Maharal adds in the same source that we quoted, Netzach Yisrael, chapter 21, that both, this is not a contradiction, the Talmud says will happen. These two will make it till the end of days. But someone has to drop. So that is the question here. They will both make it to the end, but one will fall sooner than later. When we look at today's current events, it would seem like Persia and the Islam is falling first, though it's a close battle. We see Europe, we see America. What is going on there? I mean, historical events that we have not seen. On the same day, you could have in every city in America, thousands, hundreds of thousands, who knows more, people, the No King Day. The same day you have a military parade in Washington with Trump on his birthday. Such a divided country. United we stand, divided you will fall.